Today I'm going to be doing some maintenance on my Ram 3500. You can see I got the truck mostly in the garage. Couldn't quite fit in, but that's okay. I've been waiting for the weather to get a tad warmer. It's been in like the 20s. Today it's about 40 degrees, so it's a good day to do some maintenance. You can see here I got some fluid and some gaskets set up. What I'm going to be doing is the transmission. I'm going to be doing the fluid, the filter, and I have a gasket that I'm going to replace for the transmission pan. I'm also going to be doing the front and rear differential. You can see here I got my gear oil gaskets for those as well, and I'll show you guys the part numbers for that as we go on. And then also I have the fuel filters and the transfer case fluid, which is a pretty easy one. That's just a drain and fill. So what I'm going to get started with is the transmission. I got the truck set up. You can see I had to build some makeshift ramps because I couldn't quite get past the running board on my creeper. So I put some wood together. I got my oil pan set up under there now with a light and some cardboard, and we're going to get rocking and rolling with this. The first step is going to be to drain it. I'm actually going to take my glove off because I don't want it to get soaked in transmission fluid. Honestly, that's still pretty red, but this is a Aisin transmission, and they call the maintenance for this is you got to do a fluid change every 30,000 miles, and then you need to do a fluid and filter change every 60,000. Let's see if this will get them off, or I'll have to crack them. Yep, these are good. Now these are 10 millimeter. They're all pretty easy to get to. These ones back here can be a little problematic, but I'll show you once I get there. Let me rip all these out, and then I'll give you guys a little bit of a close-up of what's going on back here. All right, so these bolts back here tend to be a little problematic. So what I have on here is a wobble head extension. Let me show you with this hand. So this socket just wobbles on here, right? So that means I'll be able to get on these bolts from an angle. You can't just go straight in. There's not enough room. So what you have to do is you got to come in from the side. I'll show you from this side. You got to get in past the pan and then squeeze in there. You see, there's enough room for your extension to fit. Just barely. Then, kind of got to finagle it on there. And it's a little tight to get the bolts out with the socket in place. Here you see. All right, let's try not to make a mess. Now I'll tell you, the last time I did this, I made a pretty big mess in my driveway. Because what I didn't realize is that some fluid gets trapped above this filter. There's like I guess it's the suction port right here, the top part of the filter, and fluid gets trapped up there. So when I pull this off, some's gonna spill out. So now I have the pan underneath here to hopefully learn from my mistake. I mean, I still expect maybe there to be a little bit of a mess. That's why I have some cardboard down too, but we'll see in a second here. Get these 3 bolts out, and then I'll get it off, and we'll see if we make a mess again. It's like a jack in a box, right? You know it's gonna pop. You shouldn't be afraid of it, but you're still a a little hesitant. Here we go. Trying to get it out slow. All right, it's getting close. Well, that went a heck of a lot better than the first time. Oh, good. So I got the pan on the bench. There's still some fluid in here. I need to clean this up. But I wanted to take this time. I was going to show you guys the part numbers. This is the new filter. Right here is that part number. Let's see if that'll focus on it. That's that. And then the gasket. Let's get this out of the way. And then the gasket is right here. And here is the part number to that. Make sure we can see that. It's 68214914AA. But I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna pop this new filter on, then I'm gonna get this pan cleaned up, and we're gonna put it back on. And then I'm gonna show you guys there's an important step when you do this filter and fluid swap on the on this transmission, because you can get the check engine light and a hard shift, a really rough shift, if you don't follow this procedure. So I'll show you that after we get all this button back up. All right, so I added about 8.5 quarts. I know it should take about 9, but I didn't want to overfill it or risk the chance of overfilling it. So now I'm going to start it up. And now, here's the key. There's going to be a lot of noise. Everything's beeping. I need fuel and everything else. I suspect when I start it the first time, the check engine light's going to come on. And what I'm going to have to do, let's go ahead and start it and see. There it is. Check engine light just came on. The reason that came on is because it sensed, I guess, a low pressure in the transmission pump. So what you have to do is cycle the key on and off about 5 or 6 times. There you go. That was the 6th time and the light shut off. Now, if you don't cycle it on and off a few times like this, what will happen is if you just start it once and go ahead and put it in reverse or drive or whatever, you're going to get a really hard shift, a loud clunk, which, you know, you would like to avoid. So now it should shift smoothly. Let's put it in reverse. Nice and fine. I'm not going to move. I'm going to stay up where I'm at so I can take a look underneath. And I'm also going to check the level. You can see it's right at the cold hash marks. And cold, it says it on the dipstick, 77. So when it gets hot, which is like 167, it should be at these hash marks. So I'll check it again when I get to operating temperature. But I'm down by the cold, it should be good. So what I'm going to do here first is make sure, this is a good habit to do if you're going to be draining these, make sure that this fill plug is not seized. So I always loosen this first just to make sure it can come out. You could just take it a couple turns and then put it back in, that's fine. And then I'm going to loosen all these pumpkin bolts, not pull the pan completely off, just loosen them all, and then I may have to pry at this to let it start draining. So let's get rolling. Now this, you just put the socket wrench right in, a 3/8 ratchet. You know, an extension actually might be better. All right, that's loose. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and crack them by hand. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it off, clean it up, and we'll fill it up and put it back together. Let me see, here's that part number in case you need it. That's the rear differential. Now it's time to add the fluid. You can see I'm using Valvoline, it's 7590. This has the limited slip additive, but you actually don't need it. It's not gonna hurt anything by using it. All right guys, I got the truck back in the garage. The other day I finished up doing the rear differential. That took about 4 quarts and I was running out of daylight, so I had to call it quits for that day. And also I had to pick up some more gear oil because the back took more than I was expecting. For some reason I thought it was going to be like 2, but like I said, it was closer to 4. So I grabbed a couple more. The front axle is smaller, so I definitely don't think it's going to hold the same amount, but I have 4 here. We'll see what it ends up taking. I already got my light set up. The garage is kind of tight right now because I had some material get delivered, but anyways, I'll get under here and start getting this one opened and draining and get that rocking and rolling. The couple bolts up top there, this one and this one, this sway bar is in the way, so I put a wrench on it, a box end wrench, and then I attached another wrench to the open end to get some leverage to get it open. They're all cracked loose now, so I'm gonna start taking them out and letting this fluid drain. So I just got the pan all cleaned up. You can see here, it wasn't that dirty like I mentioned. That fluid wasn't too bad, and there was very little, I don't want to say shavings, but you get that like metallic paste on the magnet. There was only a real little bit on there. So obviously I cleaned it up just with rags. I didn't use any cleaner. I don't think I mentioned this, but these are 10mm bolts here, and they have some Loctite on them. I'm not going to add any more because it's still in the thread, so it'll probably rebite. But anyways, let me get this under there. I wiped everything off. I looked around to make sure there was no clumps in there. I don't think there is. And we'll get this back together and then get it filled up. We'll see how much fluid it takes. Oh yeah, one more thing. I used a new gasket. Let me give you that part number real quick. So there's that part number. All right, we'll get this plug out and get this thing filled up. I can tell you what, up here in the front, having these flex bags, that's what we're going to call them, definitely makes a huge difference, because you have this sway bar here. I think that's the sway bar. Anyways, right in the way. So, oh, making a mess. And if this was a you know, a solid tube, it'd be next to impossible to get it in there. You'd have to use one of those pumps. So here's the transfer case, and you can see they have these actually labeled drain, fill. Just like I did up front, I'm gonna make sure that this fill plug can come loose. Well, that was pretty easy. Oh, I guess because it's in aluminum. We'll just test this drain. Okay, they're both not too bad. Wow, there's a little bit of red on there, but otherwise that's pretty clean. I don't know how far this is going to shoot out. Let me move this pan. Oh, good thing I moved it. She had a little bit of momentum. I don't know if you can see it dripping off my fingers. This stuff's still pretty red too, which is always a good sign. You know, I don't ever want to change anything prematurely, but I'd rather change it a little early than a little late. Like if I pulled this plug and it was brown and burnt smelling, I'd be a little upset at myself for waiting so long. Thankfully, that's not the case. I'm gonna let this drip for a little bit, then we'll get it filled up. You can see here I use this Mopar transfer case lubricant. Number's right down there at the bottom. It's kind of hard to see. 68089195AA. All right, this is quart number 2. So, last but not least is going to be the 2 fuel filters. You have the water separator and then the fuel filter itself. I guess they both do some filtering, but this one in the back is for catching water. That one is located right on the other side of the def tank, which is down there. And then this fuel filter is under the hood. I'm going to do that one first. All right, so just made a discovery. Normally there's a hose right down here. You can see there's a tiny little piece of it. I guess it maybe has gotten brittle over time and it broke off. I mean, it's a piece of flex hose. And that would go down by the front differential, and then you would drain this canister with that. It's gone. I tried to put another piece of hose on it, but what I have is not working. So I think I'm just going to let it drain down. I mean, this is all like steel components, so a little bit of diesel on it won't hurt it. I do have the big catch pan underneath. And I'm going to keep an eye to make sure it doesn't get too crazy. Let's see. Yep. All right, we're dripping into the pan. But once that's done dripping, I'll go ahead and get that canister open. What you're gonna want, it's an 1.1/8" socket, and you're gonna want to use a wobble extension or like one of those flex joints, because you can't get straight on top of it. You know, I've tried to just put a socket and a socket wrench down in there, but there's no room and you can't really get a lot of leverage on it. So basically I drop it down through this area up here, get it on top of the canister and crack it loose. I'll show you that in just a second once this is finished draining. You have to shimmy your hand in here, get the socket set up. You see it sitting right there. Then you take your wobble extension and you're going to feed it. You're going to feed it down through here. All right, you can see the top of the socket there. Feed it down right on top. Push, get it, you know, locked in. There it is. That's in there. Got a little piece of the extension sticking out there. and you're going to want to put a little stubby extension on so you're able to you know, reach it. Otherwise your wrench is going to be too far down. So let me get you guys set up. You can see it twisting there. Basically, you just reach in, give it a little twist, and pull up. Kind of shimmy it around a little bit. There you go. It came right up. Now you can see there's a little gasket, an O-ring. That a new one comes with the new filter, so you replace this every time. So you can sometimes you just roll it off with your hand, or you just use a little screwdriver to shimmy it up. So there's the new filter. Here's the gasket. All right, so I put a little bit of engine oil on my fingers here just to get it around on this gasket. All right, so you're going to want to make sure you get your gasket rolled all the way down to the bottom there. I'll give you another close-up if I can. Right there. There we go. I muscled it in. It's in there. Push it all the way down. Screw the cap back on. Make sure you got that valve closed. And clean up your mess. Then this filter's done. We'll move on to the back one. Alright, so here's the other filter. This one has a drain right here on the bottom of it, which makes it, you know, a lot easier to drain than the one that's under the hood. Generally, you could just twist that by hand. We'll just let that run for a little while. Then there's also this little clip here you have to take out. I should have probably brought a little flathead with me. Oh, there we go. All good. No flathead needed. And what I use to get this loose is this oil wrench here. Usually it's kind of tight, but you can grab this, get it to turn a couple times, and then you'll just be able to get it by hand. This thing should be full with fluid. There we go. I had to loosen it up a little bit more. So all this will drain out. Then I'll pop it out. I'll bring it over to the bench. I'll show you the new one. There's a little trick to get this off. They actually make a special tool because you have to reuse this. That's the water sensor and drain. It's all connected in one. All right, so this is the wrench. I believe I got this off Amazon. Or did I? Made in the USA. Maybe it is off Amazon. I'm not too sure. But anyways, you could use channel locks, but this is plastic, so again, you want to be careful. What I usually do, and we'll see how tight it is, I get that on there, and then I'll hold the canister with one hand. There we go. Like I said, you're reusing this, so, you know, be careful with it. Try not to jack it all up. There's a gasket on here that you have to replace. So I'll just use some good old 10W40 on this stuff here. Use the same tool to tighten it back up. Clean up my mess. A little bit more oil. That just sits in there like that. We'll get back under there and hook this baby up. So when you do both fuel filters, right now there's obviously a lot of, I guess air, right? Both filters are empty. We've drained them both. So you have to cycle your key on and off about 3 or 4 times. So to the off position, up to the run position. And during one of these, you could also take that time to reset your replace fuel filter message. See right there, 0%. Just hit our arrow. Now it's being stubborn. Let's see. Let's try again here. There we go. Yes. That changed to 100. Good. This is the 3rd time. And basically, if you tried to start it, it would just struggle to start because there's no fuel up there. There it is. Now I always take a look underneath, make sure I don't see anything gripping, just in case something was loose. All right. Now just got to log it in our book. We'll be all wrapped up. It's important if you guys have multiple trucks, even if you don't have multiple trucks, if you have one truck, it's always good to keep a log. I keep everything written down in the back of this book here. You can see here it's all the maintenance that I've done, the date and the mileage. And I'll write it all down right in the book. I gotta find a pen. But as usual, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully this helps some guys out that has this truck. And don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, and please subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I'll catch you on the next one.